Hello friends, Only has plastic cups in his house because he's really clumsy and still manages to break them. Here bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of Dota Alchemy, in which we're going to be discussing one of the most important concepts to date. This is something that people are obsessing over in mid to high Immortal. This is basically how everybody makes a lot of their calls, and that is siege creeps. So one of the big reasons that I want to talk about this concept is because a lot of people ask when we do our weekly replay review sessions on Thursdays, how do you make calls in Dota? How do I know when to rotate? Do I just rotate? And this is one of the best situations where you can make a rotation and choose to take a fight. And even if you're behind or dead even in a very late game that's like super intense, you can take really good fights really easily. So basically all you need to do is you need to abuse the fact that there are siege creeps in one lane. So this lane right here, if the Radiant is good, they're going to want to defend this. There's a bunch of skeletons pushing, there's a bunch of range creeps, there's a siege wave, and there is a Rax tower here that is exposed. They don't want to take damage on this. They have to clear this wave. So the bottom line here is essentially that this area of the map to defend this is very far away from this area of the map. And I have the fog set to dire here so we can see that this area was just farmed by dire, this area was just farmed by dire, this area is dark, so it's very likely that this is where Radiant is. So essentially what's going to happen here is if Radiant is good, they're all going to move out of this area together and defend this together. And then maybe they'll play the mid lane and then have some people here and then one person shoving out this lane. But that very rarely happens in pubs, and even in competitive, that can happen slowly. And that is where you take those opportunities to take fights. So here we can see the lane is shoving in, and this is the point where I called, okay, just take any fight. Like literally just TP back and fight anywhere. I thought it was going to happen in the jungle, but the enemy team was walking through mid. So because this is about an ancient to divine game, they were making the rotation together. However, this is still enough distance between these two and the Shadow Shaman who TP'd in to defend this, that this fight is going to be good. So this guy even has boots of travel, but he's so focused on killing these creeps because if he TP's out, okay, number one, there's not many creeps to TP to here. These are probably going to die. But then also, it takes time for him to TP, and if he does TP, this is still going to take damage, so he wants to defend this. And the fight, it goes swimmingly. In a game that was dead even. So it's as simple as that. You basically just abuse the fact that there is a side lane in particular, because those are very far away from wherever else on the map, is pushing in, and then you make a rotation with a smoke, with a TP into the opposing side of the map. It's good to do it under vision if you can, but that's not necessary because a lot of the time the enemy team is just scattering at that point to deal with the lane, that they're going to be split, and the fight you can take is going to be a very high percentage play. So next, I want to show you a simple trick for killing siege creeps when you're defending a tower. One of the more annoying things about siege creeps is that they aren't prioritized by towers until all the heroes and all the creeps in the range of the tower are dead. So because of that, what a lot of people do is they will fort the creeps, they will tank towers, and things like that, so the siege creep survives. And one of the situations you can be in is where this happens, when the next creep wave meets up, and then because this creep wave is here, the siege creep will start hitting these creeps, and this tower is very likely to die. So this is one of those situations where I was doing this and they ended up getting the tower anyway, but you can kind of understand what I'm doing here. So basically all you do is you run into the creep wave and you drag it out of the range of the tower. And then what happens is the tower is going to basically four-shot the siege creep. So we end up losing the tower here anyway, and I also died, but this game was a 9k gold deficit. But I just wanted to show you the concept of this, because there are so many situations where I've seen in coaching that somebody just lets their tower get absolutely obliterated by a siege creep, when all you need to do is walk out of tower range for just a second with the whole creep wave, and then let the tower kill the siege creep, because you kill siege creeps very slowly, but towers, for whatever reason, they hit them. So you want to abuse that. Next, I want to talk about what I briefly mentioned in the previous clip, which is a trick where you tank tower with heals, either a salve or an urn or some good base regen, or even if you're just a tanky hero like you have phase boots or something like that, you don't have that much regen, you can still use your HP as a resource in order to protect a siege creep. So the reason that you do this, the reason that it's worth it, oh yeah, and also people use Fortify on the creep wave to protect a siege creep as well, because it's worth it. So the reason that you do this is because if we look here at this creep wave that's sieging this tower, the reason that you would fortify this, the reason that you would tank the tower for the siege creep is because probably 2 seconds, 1 to 2 seconds of the tower hitting the siege creep would result in the creep dying. And this creep wave is about 1 to 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds away. So all you need to do is tank the tower or fortify the wave to tank the tower for a few seconds, and then this creep wave will protect this creep. And then this catapult is alive and it will siege this tower. And if it's sieging this tower, somebody has to respond to it, which means you can go mid, and the whole game breaks wide open. Essentially, this allows you to get tier 1 towers in the early game way faster, like 5 minutes faster. And the reason that I'm including this as a clip here is because every time I do a coaching session, about 95% of the time, I should say, people don't do this, and they just don't kill a tower when they could have. And 5 minutes later, they eventually get it, but 5 minutes later, there's an enemy on the enemy team that's strong and they lose their timing and it just sucks, and then they lose and it's like, oh, why am I losing Dota? Well, this is why. So here you can see that I'm diving this guy because I really want to protect the siege creep. I have urn charges now. The next creep wave comes in because there was a huge double wave here, and I let this hit me for a little while. The reason that I'm letting it hit me is because I have regen and I'm low mana anyway, so I'm probably going to go back to base, or at the very least not be super aggressive. So I don't need to worry about my HP being very low. So I just tank it a little bit. I believe after the creep wave dies, I tank it for a little bit longer. And then this creep wave is alive. And as we can see, as a result of this, Lion TP's top to stop the siege, Techie's TP's top, and we have this entire area of the map to work with. And then I believe I very soon after TP to the bot lane and secure this tower. And because they all TP'd up here to deal with this, they can't do anything about it. So this is something that you can very easily abuse by just tanking the tower for like 3 seconds, where otherwise people don't. And then you get a tower 5 minutes later, you're not able to make a rotation to the bot lane, which means you don't get another tower, and you don't have this snowball effect in a game where you otherwise could. So that's it for this video. Make sure to hit the notification bell so Donnie and I can pay for rent and buy ramen. Also, make sure to like the video and comment if you think Roshan is a little bitch. In fact, comment on how much of a bitch you think that Roshan is. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in another video.